Bonjour tout le monde, and welcome to another lovely week of French grammar. Now, last week was a huge video of a ton of concepts reviewing, and this week is only one concept, but we're going to treat it with extra special care because it's something you'll do every single time you're speaking French. We're going to focus on asking questions and the grammar associated with it. So first things first, let's cover those question words. You've got qui, que, quoi, comment, quand, où, pourquoi, and combien, meaning respectively who, what, how or what, when, where, why, and how much or how many. Combien means both. Now, when you're looking at these, you see a whole bunch of different words, of course, but what's most important is they don't necessarily translate the way that you expect for them to, and so that you're careful with how you hear them used, and then you use them in those ways, because that will make you most understood whenever you're going forward. All right. So the first thing you can do with a question structure, though, is you can replace it. For example, Marc va à la librairie. Qui va à la librairie? Quite simply, I wanted to know who is going to the bookstore. And if the answer was Marc is going, that would make complete sense for the way to ask the question. Qui va à la librairie? Now, this is a more informal way to ask a question. You just replace the part of the sentence that is the question word. For example, with the same sentence, I could have done Marc va où? Marc is going where? He's going to the bookstore. Marc va à la librairie. And at the same time, I could ask, qu'est-ce que Marc fait à la librairie? I could do qu'est-ce que, and I could ask, what is it that Marc is doing at the bookstore? And I could answer, Marc's going to the bookstore. Hopefully to buy books, right, guys? Or maybe he has a friend who works there. Whatever Marc is doing at the bookstore, though. We could ask this in a lot of different ways, taking out what we don't know and replacing it with a question word. So in everyday life, if you didn't know where our library is on campus, right, and you needed to know where is the library, you could say the library is where. La bibliothèque est où? La bibliothèque est où? Right? Where is the library? Now, if I knew where the library is, but I didn't know what the library is, I can say, La bibliothèque est quoi? And of course, la bibliothèque est un endroit où il y a beaucoup de livres, right? It's a place with lots of books. But if I didn't know that answer, I could have put quoi in there. So basically, with replacement, the question word becomes very important. So if I want to know what something is, who someone is, where something is, when something is, I just need to replace that blank with the proper question word, and I can find out that information very easily. You can see I can say pourquoi in the middle of a sentence, like Marc va à la librairie pourquoi? He goes there, why? And in another sentence, Marc va à la librairie parce que il achète des livres, right? He buys the books. He shops for books. That is one of the easy ways to make anything a question that you need to have as a question. Another thing you can do is use est-ce que. Now, it's really, really helpful with the yes-no questions. And it's like using do. Tu aimes les livres? You like books. Now, if I want to say, do you like books? I can say, est-ce que tu aimes les livres? And the est-ce que makes my statement into a question, the same way a question word did before with replacement. You can do this with a ton of different sentences. For example, Haley est mon prof. Est-ce que Haley est mon prof? Is she my teacher? And that way, pretty much any yes-no question can be asked very, very easily with est-ce que. And one other thing you can do with est-ce que is you can avoid inversion. A lot of people don't like inverting their verbs with their nouns, which is something we're about to do, because sometimes it complicates matters, particularly when you're using a person's first name. So what they do is they use est-ce que. Tu veux les livres? Of course, meaning you want books. Quand est-ce que tu veux les livres? When do you want books? By adding est-ce que, I'm asking a question about wanting books. And I didn't have to change the underlying structure of the statement at all. I just got to tuck est-ce que into the sentence between the question word and the full statement. This is something you'll see very commonly in your textbook and in real life. It's a very normal way to ask a question. It's probably second most popular after replacement. Then the most formal and the least frequent one that you'll hear is our last one. It's called inversion. Elle est grande. Est-elle grande? She is tall. Is she tall? It's pretty much the same thing that we do in English. You just simply change the places of the verb and the noun, and then you add a dash in French where you wouldn't in English, connecting the two things that you've just inverted. This gets a little more complicated when we add first names. For example, if I wanted to know if Marguerite est grande, I would have to say, Marguerite, est-elle grande? Marguerite, is she tall? I'd have to say her name separately from the inversion for it to be done perfectly correctly. In addition, if the end of the verb and the beginning of the pronoun, like elle or il, they have vowels touching, you have to add a T in the middle. So it would become something with a verb dash T dash pronoun. So you'd have your verb form, your dash, and then your T, and then your dash, and then your pronoun. And it would make it so that that sound, est-elle, that T sound, would be in the middle of the word. Like all other things in French, they like when it sounds pretty. And so that T makes the sound that they like to hear, and so it appears in the written language. Another example of this would be, Tu as 19 ans. And I would ask, Quel âge as-tu? How old are you? Just like we would in English with that nice inversion. A little bit shorter this week, but I hope that it was equally helpful. Have a good week. Watch the video as many times as you'd like, and I'll see you all in class.